the FNL Network talk show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the FNL Network talk show. I'm your host, Diana Gebbia. Today I am joined by my friends Marianne and Corey. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I love how you guys are just chilling in your massive libraries. Oh my
Gotta
goodness.
love it. Gotta love it.
Put my white wall to shame right now. I am obsessed. And I hope you guys are ready because I do have a wide range of crazy topics to cover today. Always have fun with you guys. So let's just jump right in. The first thing I want to talk about are some presidential shoes. So Donald Trump has created a pair of Never Surrender sneaker lines. He's also selling perfume, which I don't even want to know what that smells like. So one of the sneakers, which is like gold foil and like American flag. If you guys are wrestling fans, they kind of look like what Cody Rhodes wears, and I like Cody and I don't like Trump, so I didn't feel bad putting him in the same sentence. But to give everyone a little visual, those are sold out. They are $399. And then he's got a red pair and a white pair with a T and 45 on them. And I guess you can kind of compare those to those sneakers that stretch out and then you put your foot in. You know what I'm talking about? The stretchy, like canvasy, not canvas, but elasticy type sneakers. And those are $199. So, okay. My question to you guys is, being that he was just found guilty in his New York civil fraud suit, he's got a bunch of other trials coming up. He has to pay now over $355 million in fines relating to running a business. Do you think it's kind of classless for him to A, now have a sneaker line, and B, call it the Never Surrender sneaker line, which in my opinion, I thought it was making a mockery of all his suits? Or do you just say like, he can make money however he wants? So, Corey, I'm going to kick things over to you first.
It's definitely a combination for me. I mean, he's always going to be trying to make make money off of something. That's what he does, right? Never do anything for free when you can get paid for it. It's kind of always been his philosophy. So I don't think it's particularly tacky either. I mean, he's known for being tacky anyways. It's kind of his thing. And the Never Surrender is definitely speaking to his crowd, or the large portion of his crowd. I'm one of those people that even if I support Trump, I'm not going to walk around with the Make America Great hat, because for the same reason I don't have bumper stickers, because bumper stickers, and I say this quite often when I'm talking to people that I disagree with politically, bumper stickers, slogans are a little shot at you. And there's not any real time to actually sit down and go, well, what do you mean by that? And how do you feel about this? And things of that nature. So it's not a sneaker I would buy. I know there's certainly people out there that are going to buy those sneakers, but I'm not buying a $399 sneaker. I don't care what it is. It's up there for me, because I don't care how good the sneaker is. They all get destroyed way too fast to justify that kind of price for me. So of course, whoever's buying it may or may not be even using it, but I see it as something they might buy. And it's a conversation starter, but how often does it actually start conversations rather than just upset people and things like that? Which I'm not opposed to upsetting people, right? You got to risk being offended to have a conversation in the first place, and I think people should. So I wouldn't be against them wearing it. It wouldn't upset me at all. Just not particularly my thing. But as far as whether or not it's his Never Surrender, I mean, he's fighting for it, right? He's fighting for it, and I do believe that a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is politics getting involved with their courts. I think it's being used as a tool against him and against his voters, and I'm absolutely not a fan of that by any way, shape, or form. So it's hard to say one side or the other, except that I do feel he has the right to do it, and he is pushing something right now that he should not surrender or back down from. Right? Yes, he of course was guilty in the last case, but they're going to appeal it. They are appealing it. They're going to move on, and that's the beauty of this country, is you get to talk to other judges and other courts and not just have one biased opinion or another, right? So that's kind of my opinion on that one.
Yeah, lots of good points. I do like how you said they're not your thing. You want to get them, and I totally agree. They wouldn't match your outfit right now. So good call on
The
that.
sandals kind of outfit, right?
Yes. And they are on brand for him. You know, like you had mentioned that everything he kind of does is tacky. And I think about like in the
Lots of
80s,
gold with him. Lots of gold, right?
lots of gold, yeah. And when
Like
you
his
think
gold.
of the decade of excess, you know, the 80s, you think of him. So it's a really good point. Marianne, I know you're somewhat of a fashionista like me, so I'm ready to hear your take on this one.
Woo! Okay, so I don't care who makes them. I'm not buying them shoes. I'm not spending $399 on a pair of shoes. That's just me. And I think I love gold stuff. I've got bright gold pants, even a pair that have glitter on them that like sprinkle glitter everywhere I go. I still wouldn't buy them. I mean, I'm not spending that kind of money on the shoes. Do I think it's because of what happened recently? I do. I think that's probably the never surrender thing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He doesn't care what anybody has to say. He's going to do what he's going to do. And I think this is just part of that. And whether you like him or whether you don't, I'm like you, Corey. I don't do the bumper stickers. I don't buy the merchandise and wear it out in public. That's just not my style. That's not me. But to each his own. I'm sure obviously the shoes are sold out, so plenty of supporters to purchase them, but I wouldn't wear them. I might wear gold shoes, but I don't want to wear those. I mean, I love gold. I love bright and shiny things, but just not those,
That's
especially
fair.
for the price. I'd rather go to like Target and get some gold shoes.
Yes.
They're still shiny.
Exactly.
I'm not looking for the golden sparkly pants over here either. So I'm good.
That also wouldn't match your outfit.
No,
So,
no. Unless that was my goal to not match, really.
no, I agree with both of you guys. I'm not adding these to cart anytime soon. $399 is a little steep for me, and I'm like, if I'm gonna ever spend $399 on shoes, they're gonna be a nice designer pair of shoes, which I feel like designer pairs of shoes run for even more than that. So I would put that money towards Christian Louboutins or something before I would ever buy these Never Surrender sneakers. And I've got to know, if anyone at home has ordered that perfume, can you please send us a report back what it smells like? Because I this is gonna sound mean, but I'm just getting like cheap, when you're like on the bus or like somewhere in public, you're eating at a restaurant and someone's like perfume is just like wafting in your face. Like I'm getting wafting vibes.
I'm willing to bet it's got gold flakes floating around inside it.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That would be crazy.
It's probably coming from him. It's probably pretty nice actually, but
Oh my goodness. I
perfume, right?
definitely,
It's not
if
something
anyone
he's
gets
wearing.
what?
Said it's perfume, right? It's not something he's wearing. Maybe
Exactly. I think there was a cologne too, though.
Probably.
And that one had his face on the bottle. I was like, oh God, you know what? If anything, he's committed.
Oh yeah, he's about brand.
Oh my God, I love that. All right, we're gonna shift gears into something still just as fun to talk about, maybe a little bit more, less heavy with everything going on. I was at a concert last week. I'm not gonna say which one it was because a friend invited me and I don't want to be rude, but the lead singer of the band went on like a tirade about people using their phones at the show. And it was like, put your phones down. And at the beginning, it seemed like it was a little tongue in cheek. He's like, I want to take you on a journey, be present. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But it doesn't seem like it bothers him. And I'm not even kidding you. In the middle of one song, he's like, put your effing phones away. And I was like, oh my God, like, thank God this guy can't see me. So I'll give my take right now. I feel like if you pay for a concert ticket, as long as you're not watching cat videos or being distracted and you want to take some videos of the concert or some pictures of your favorite band, you paid for the ticket. you get to do what you want with it. I think there's a fine line between trying to capture the moment and just being blatantly disrespectful and ignoring what's going on around you. But yeah, concerts have different etiquette than, let's say, like a Broadway show where you're really not supposed to take, or your movies where you're not supposed to take your phone out. Concerts are more conversational. And I just think it goes with the atmosphere. And unfortunately, at this day and age, if you want to be a performer, you want to get up on stage and perform, you're going to have to deal with the fact that people are going to be taking pictures and less presence. So I thought that would be a really interesting topic to bring to the table. I know we're similar ages, but I think I'm a different generation than you guys just by one. So I'm curious to hear what your takes on this is. Like, I didn't grow up with cell phones, but by the time I started going to concerts, like, the digital cameras were a thing. So I'm curious what you guys think. So Marianne, let's start off with you.
I think that to say turn off your effing phones I think that ruins the mood, honestly. It would upset me to hear someone say that I paid to go to their concert. So I understand, I get wanting people to be present. I understand that, but these people did pay to be there, and they may want to make memories, and how do you do that? You take pictures. So I don't see the issue with taking pictures. Like you said, as long as things don't become very distracting from the performance, I think universally at every concert, people are going to be taking photos. They're going to be wanting to document this memory with their family, with their friends. They're going to want to remember it. And I don't see a problem with taking them as long as it's not becoming distracting to the actual show. So I feel like what he said sounds a bit harsh. And I am a millennial. I'm probably an older one, but
I think we are in the same
born in
generation.
86. So, yeah, but I still think that people should be allowed to take pictures and enjoy themselves as the way of self-expression while you're at the concert. So
Yeah.
I don't see the big deal.
Yeah, I agree. And I know some people say, like, when are you going to watch these videos again? But maybe I'm the minority. But, like, if I'm feeling a little nostalgic, I'll look through my Coachella videos. I'll look through my Danny Elfman videos. When I'm at a concert, I never make sure to record, like, the entire song because that's distracting to the people behind me. So I just think there's etiquette about it. And like you said, you paid the money and you want to make the memory. So I don't know. I'm with you, Marianne. What about you, Corey?
You mentioned Danny Elfman, huh?
Yes, he's one of my favorites.
So you've actually been to concerts, Danny Elfman concerts?
I've been to 3 of his.
Oh, I'm jealous now.
He's
Yeah,
wonderful.
Love Danny Elfman. Did you go to the Elfman or the Oingo Boingo? Or is it?
So he did 2 of the shows I saw, or no, 3 of the shows I saw. I've been to 4 of them. 3 of them was a mix of, it was called From Boingo to Batman and Beyond. So there was Boingo songs, which it was just him. He doesn't really play with the band anymore. And then he did his like movie scores. So that was like the Batman part, but he did a whole bunch of them. And then he had a pandemic album called Big Mess, and he did that too. And then the other one I saw was just The Nightmare Before Christmas at the Hollywood Bowl, which was really good.
Yeah, would have loved to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as your question, that's awesome. You mentioned him. I had to say something.
Of course. No, I appreciate it.
People don't love Danny Elfman. I don't love Danny Elfman. So yeah, I'm technically a millennial as well. Although we're part of what they call the bridgers, right between analog and digital. And so I get the argument for both worlds. I get the argument that, hey, concerts were an experience and the albums were recorded. You can always listen to the albums. And when you were there, for the artists, I know that it can be, even though there's sometimes thousands of people, it can be a very intimate thing for them, right? And even though it has nothing to do with teaching, I can liken it to teaching, where there's certain things sometimes you bring up or you get in the moment with your class, you get in the moment with your audience, let's say. And when you're in the moment with that audience, you don't necessarily want any of the outside influences tainting that. And if having record it and then hear what people's negative thoughts are later, and you could be like, dude, were you even there? You weren't even a part of this thing with us, And I know it could be incredibly distracting. It's like being in the middle of a conversation with somebody and they just all of a sudden, You know, you're like, okay, are you focusing on me? Are you paying attention to me? And so I could see it being very, very frustrating. And likely this person, which by the way, you got to tell us who it was.
Oh
But
yeah, once we hang up, I'll tell you, or we stop recording.
likely this person's had incidents before. That's what it sounds. If he's that frustrated, it sounds like incidents have occurred, and they've had issues and problems with it before. But nonetheless, without the context for the rest of that audience, it just comes across as really rude and disrespectful. So I would see having my phone there, literally a couple pictures here and there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Thinking I've been to a few concerts where I recorded a lot of it because I was nowhere near the stage anyways. And there were so
Yeah.
many pyrotechnics and special effects going on. It was like I recorded a lot of this. Um, and I had it down here, so I felt I was still in the moment. But you know that argument that he's making, I can completely see it, and I see it from the audience perspective as well, is what I'm saying. There's definitely got to be a little more context there for me to understand his point of view and perspective, because just from what we're seeing, it sounds more like as an audience member, you're kind of like, chill out, man. You
Yeah.
know, let us have a good time. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we're similar in that way. Where like I can definitely see it from both ends, and I have empathy because you never know what that person could have experienced, and they're probably
Yeah.
thinking like I'm taking my time out to perform for you. This is hard work, and you're on your phone. But you also brought up a good point, like pyrotechnics and stuff like that. Like this show had a beautiful like laser show, I guess you can call it, laser effects, and there was one point where like confetti was coming down, but it looked like glitter in the air, and it was so pretty. And I was like, I'm taking out my phone for this. I don't care about this guy. Or Danny Elfman, when he does his movie scores, he's got like clips in the background. So whenever I Stand from Edward Scissorhand comes on, I'm like, oh, I love seeing that up. Or like there's whole art directors now for concerts, so it's just as much a visual experience as it is an audio experience. And part of me also thinks like the audience recording it is a compliment to them in a way, because it's a way of showing that you appreciate this so much you want to hold on to it forever, or for as long as your phone allows you without blowing up or something like that. So yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I think one of my friends who I was with mentioned that the singer is older. Not that he's old, I'm not calling him old, I'm just saying he's from like a different generation. He's 50, so I think I don't remember what exactly generation that is, but it does make a difference when it comes to their views on electronics, because they didn't grow up with cell phones and things like that. Like when my dad went to concerts, there was none of that. You really just truly were taking it all in. So I can see maybe you performed in the 90s or something and none of this was there, and now you're seeing this, and it could be shell shocking, like kind of to your point, Corey, about how seeing it from their perspective. And maybe it wasn't an incident, maybe it's just like he's longing for those days where nobody was in the audience with a camera or a phone. So it is,
Or it feels less real or less intimate for them, right?
yeah,
The audience.
yeah, it's definitely interesting to see it from their potential side of things. But for me, I know I'm just still gonna have my phone out when necessary. Sorry, not sorry. uh
As
so
long as it's not distracting them. I mean, I
yes,
think if you're not
exactly.
seeing it, I mean, maybe he was looking out and seeing a whole bunch of people just buried in their phones and not focused, and maybe there were a bunch of people watching cat videos, right?
Yeah, you know what? There's time and place for cat videos, and it's not at a concert.
Right.
Yep.
I'm gonna kick it over to a totally different topic from left field. I was in Vegas over the weekend, and I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. For those of you at home who are unfamiliar, he's the host of the show Ghost Adventures. Does a lot of like paranormal explorations. Well, he does explain stuff too. And some episodes on his show were filmed at this museum, and some of the objects in there are featured on his show. So that was really cool. So you go in, there's like 800 million different rooms and stuff, and they're all like filled with these artifacts, everything from a box that like allegedly has a demon spirit that was trapped during the Holocaust. If you guys are familiar with the story, I think this was in 2017 or 2018. Post Malone was in the room when Zach decided to open up the box, which I don't know why he did that, or like went to touch it or something. And Post Malone touched his shoulder because he saw he was having a hard time. And then like literally the week after, his plane crashed. He got into a car accident and his house was robbed by gunpoint. So people obviously saw the curse connection. Yeah. So I just want to let everyone know I stayed out from that room. I was like, I have a 4-hour drive after this, so I'm not risking a car accident. Another cool thing, which I also didn't go up close to, there's a doll called Peggy. And the story behind her is someone who collects paranormal artifacts posted her on the internet. And when people looked into her eyes, they reported feeling nauseous, like someone had a stroke, or it was a heart attack for that one. I think the box was a stroke. Just all crazy happenings. Yeah. So naturally, either knowing this or some people are more sensitive, people report feeling just out of whack when in the museum. I definitely was sensitive to the energies. I felt uneasy, but like some people have passed out in the museum, have like had total personality changes and just crazy, crazy stuff. So all that being said, I want to know, are you a believer in all this? Have you had any paranormal experiences? Is this something you want to go visit? We actually chatted about this before the show started, so I'm excited to hear more about what you guys have to say. So kick it off, Corey.
All right. Well, this is a huge subject. You could take several episodes on this for me. I'm right up my alley.
Yes.
People who watch the show have heard me and my brother on here talking about conspiracy theories and things like that sometimes, and I'm definitely a skeptic where it'd be awesome if Bigfoot was real, but we don't got much. But I'm willing to listen to any of it. I love it. I love it. Paranormal, I don't deny at all. Right? I'm even one of those people that finds aliens hard to believe. Is it possible that they live out there? Yes. I do not at all think that we've met them and they've showed up and that they're influencing our government. It's just me. But as far as paranormal, there's paranormal. I've had experiences that are like I've done everything I can and I cannot explain them away. So I definitely do believe that. And I'm a spiritual person, so I do believe people can get involved in things that are cursed and dark and things of that matter. In fact, I have very, very big, like I said, would take a long time to talk about what we really feel and think about all these things. And normally I would say shouldn't play with any of these things. And I believe you shouldn't play with any of these things when you don't have a respect for the danger that they can pose, and not necessarily to yourself, but to people around you. You never know. You never know what these things how they affect other people. And I mean as much psychologically, because paranormal is as much psychological as it is anything else. They're tied in together. And so me and my brothers, we were the ones that we used to watch the original Ghost Hunters, Taps, right, with the two plumbers. We were big into that show because we spent our lives doing stuff like that. Me and my brothers, there's danger for whatever reason, we're running towards it. I don't know what it is. It's a thing with us. And when there was something frightening, we're running towards it. So we would go look for things. My sister, no thanks, she wanted nothing to do with any of it. She stays away from it all. But we would go looking for things, but we would watch. We're not walking in there saying, "Hey, talk to me. Hey, come near me." We're not doing anything like that. We're just going and checking these places out, trying to scare ourselves, and then trying to really get into it and see what's going on. For instance, we used to, when you were able to do this, we used to explore the Queen Mary. And they don't let you in the pool area anymore, but they used to. And in the back of that pool area, if you ever did get to go in there, there was a locker room, really tiny, pitch black, no matter what time of day it is. It's so freaky back there. And so what we would do is we would go back together as a group, and then we would leave one of our wallets or something, and or something that we had to retrieve, and then we would all leave. And then one of us had to go back alone. And as proof that you went all the way in there alone, you had to retrieve that item. Right. So we did that. We found houses that were supposedly haunted, and we would go in ourselves and set up and wait for people and then scare our friends coming. And then other times we would just kind of get near things that were like, no, I kind of feel something about that. Let's not mess with that. Let's not, we also do a huge haunted house ourselves. And we've always been very cognizant of like there's certain lines you shouldn't cross, certain things you don't play with.
Right.
We don't do Ouija boards, we don't do pentagrams in our haunt, we don't play with stuff like that. Some people see no harm in it, and that's fine for them. But again, we're aware of how other people can perceive it, and I think a lot of it is perception. I think that if you go near dark things like that and you have nothing that you feel protects your mind or your heart or your spirit, those things can become very dangerous things for people. I don't think any of it transfers over TV. It's entertainment, right? But to go there, like you did, I would love to go there. But that was something else we did when we go into a play. Again, we're spiritual, so I don't care how goofy it sounds to other people. We'd go in there and we'd pray over the place, though, and we'd be like, I'm not afraid, and I don't fear curses because my God is bigger than all of that, and the things that I believe are bigger than all of that. No one's gonna accidentally get me to worship something I don't believe, and no one's gonna accidentally throw something at me that causes negativity if I don't want it. Life has negativity already. Someone else having the power to give that to me is not something I necessarily believe in. But I think objects and things are there because there's things that want something from us, right? Even if it is just to be closer to what it is to be human, to have love, to have the things that we have, that these things no longer have. And if it attaches itself to an item that we can all recognize, people are more likely to approach it and come up to it and play with it when they shouldn't. So I think it's fun. It can be fun, it can be enjoyable. And as long as you have that mindset that like, I'm protected, I'm good, and then are very careful about crossing that line, then I think it's a blast. But to answer, completely, yes, I do believe.
Yeah.
I do believe there's absolutely things that, like I said, we were like taps. We would figure everything out. Is it a knock in the wall? Well, is there a pipe loose? Is there this? And then when there's absolutely nothing left and you've gone through every possibility, that little bit that there was something there that you can't explain, that's enough that excites us. That's like, yeah, I can't explain that. There's no explanation. And that's awesome to us.
Yeah. I love a lot of what you said. I'm spiritual too. I may not identify in the same way as you do, but I think that mindset is everything. And I had a lot of that going into the tour. I was like, okay, I'm me. I do notice that the energy of this place is a little unsettling, but I know I'm me, and like I have respect for, what happened here, and I'm just going to go in and just kind of practice those boundaries and have like my spiritual shield up and my energetic shield and show respect and I treated it as a learning experience. I was like, I want to learn more about these artifacts, and the history behind them is really intriguing. But unfortunately, like you mentioned, some people, thankfully not on my tour, everyone was really cool, but like tour guides have just had examples of just people coming in and being jerks and like almost like they want to test the museum in a way, you know what I mean? Like, oh, is this really true? Let me call it out, like, what's your name? Come into me or whatever. And
well, you get that in our haunted house, and like nothing's gonna hurt you in the haunted house.
Yeah.
It's a fate. It's like for us, it's an adventure. You made it through. People have their laughter, their nervous laughter, and you have a good time. But we can always tell and we can tell the most frightened people are generally the ones walking through acting like that.
Yeah.
The ones that are walking through like, they're gonna get, oh, I'm not scared. And like you could tell, we can tell as the scarers, they were like, oh, dude, you're petrified. And we'll let them go. We'll let them go, and sometimes they'll challenge you, be like, oh, this isn't scary. And be like, really? Where's your haunted house? What are you comparing it to? You don't have anything. So show me how scary you can be. And so, yeah, you definitely get those guys in reality. And like you said, they're not following that level of respect. You got to be respectful. I worked at a theater for years, right? Over a decade, I worked at the theater, and there was undoubtedly something going on there. And again, this is while I believed that whatever it is not what it claims to be, just something appearing as something we can all recognize, right? If it's grandma upstairs in the attic, you might go up and talk to it. If you think it's something else, you're like, nope, I'm gone, get out of here, and whatnot. So it's going to come in that form. And there was the story of this woman who had passed away there, and we had a complete and utter confirmation of this woman's story finally, right? The fire marshal that was there, that was present when she had passed, and the whole incident that we'd always thought about, even brought us the framed newspaper clipping that he had of the incident. So the whole thing got confirmed. And at that point, we became very careful about, okay, we sat down at the front of house and we talked, and we're like, okay, this woman had a family. This was an incident then. We don't need to be going around using this just for fun when we had to respect that there really is a history and a background. And especially if you're talking about the museum, things that had to do with the Holocaust, like there's definitely a level of respect you got to watch there.
Yeah, absolutely. And energy doesn't lie, right? So, like, even to take it away from the paranormal, let's say you live away from a loved one and they send you a card and you could tell the love and energy. Like, I have my birthday cards displayed because they have the love and energy that they poured into it. Or there was an example that they have, Thomas Edison's desk is at the museum. It's not haunted, but it's just like a cool thing they have there. And they were like, his ideas were written on there, and that's like cool energy. But at the same time, when there's been a little bit of, foul play and things like that, like that energy unfortunately remains in things too. And there's like a room of serial killers, and you saw like Ted Bundy's belongings, and it's just energy does not lie. So that's where that respect comes into play too, because any person in my mind that, is of sound mind and caring and all that, you're going to realize that the dark situations that happen around this, and you're going to think of the victims automatically in that specific case. Or if it's something like that box I was talking about earlier, even though the woman wasn't evil herself, like she was trying to trap it to like make everything better for the people around her and trying to get rid of it. So it's just too long didn't read, is that if you're someone who has like common sense and is respectful and stuff, you're just going to be mindful about how people felt when they were in these situations. People getting exercise, like there were some rooms about exorcisms, and it's like you heard the stress of the families around. Like it's very sensitive, so you have to go in with that in mind.
And there's
Marianne, oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's also physical realities to all of that, right? People that are like, for instance, shark attack victims, they talk and it sounds supernatural where they're like, oh, I really felt off that day. I knew there was something up. Well, I mean, there's small hollows in the bones filled with mucuses that can feel the vibrations and sense the vibrations in the water. You're aware that you're being hunted, right? If you were out in the forest and there was a tiger or a bear, there's a part we ignore it largely now. We're not as attuned to it as we used to, but you're aware there's something wrong. There's something hunting you. There's something stalking, watching. It's something there like that feels supernatural, but there's still an actual physical reaction occurring there. And it's a part of why, you got to be respectful, because these are real things that have occurred. And the more I guess the more you make light of it too, maybe you're not going to be aware when there is a danger.
Yeah. That's an interesting little tidbit you dropped there. I didn't know that about our bones and stuff like that. That's really interesting.
I didn't either.
Yeah, we're aware when we're being hunted or watched or followed, and we reach the uncanny valley with certain things, and serial killers are like that. Clowns, that's why we're afraid of clowns, is because the uncanny valley AI frightens us. There's good reason all of that stuff frightens us. It's the idea. So like if you take the clown as a sample, it's the idea that this is an adult, and it's an adult, especially as a child. And it's an adult, and you're either going to laugh at the big nose and the bulbous shoes, or you're going to be like, no, this is something trying to be a child, and it's not a child, and that part of your brain just goes, this isn't right. Which has always been the creepiest thought of all for me with the uncanny valley, is the idea that like what existed in our past that caused us to create that form of psychology where we're looking for something that can completely mimic us, but is not us, and we're aware of that. And it bothers us. Bad CGI bothers us for the same reason, right? So yeah, there's things there you got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. It's fun. It's super fascinating, but definitely be careful and watch yourself.
Amen. All really, really good points. Marianne, I know you had mentioned that you were a fan of the show Ghost Adventures and all that, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Oh yeah, I've watched that show for years, and I do believe in the paranormal. I do believe in evil entities. I believe they're very real, and like Corey said, we shouldn't mess with them, because you can open the door to so many dark and very bad stuff. I mean, just think about the guy Post Malone. I didn't know that happened to him after he went to that museum. I mean, that stuff, I think it's real. I think there is evil out there that definitely wants to harm us. And sometimes when you give it a pass, it can, in whatever way that it wants to. I've actually had a very creepy experience. So my mom and aunt, my grandparents have a farm, and there's a little house on there. There's two little houses on it. One was my great grandma's, and the other was a house that was put there for whoever lived there at the time to stay. So my aunt was staying in my great grandma's old house. Right next door was my mom staying in the other little house. Well, my mom and my aunt both said that at the same time, around 3 a.m., they both woke up, same time, same night, to see a dark figure in the corner standing over their bed. And that freaked them out. Well, several years later, my husband and I are staying at one of these houses. And around 3 a.m., I wake up and the same thing happens to me. And I'm like, it's this flash. It's like it happened so quick. It's like a snap. But I saw it. It was kind of like leaning against the wall looking at, and I was like, oh, no, 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 no. You're no, 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 no. And I'm like, am I dreaming? Is this real? But it felt very real to me. And then I felt something sit, like indent on the bed next to me. And I was like, this is not normal. This is not normal. And there have been so many strange things that family members have said happen in that house, and not just in that house, but on that road. There is something weird in that area. I don't know what it is. I wish I did. But, I just feel that whatever it is, it was evil. And that feeling hasn't gone away. I feel like, I don't know if it's something that happened in the past or if it's just a dark energy that's there, but it's definitely there. And I know what I experienced.
Yeah. That dark figure thing is so wild because I saw one in my room, like back in Jersey at my parents' house. But for me, it was like a teenager with a backpack on. But yeah, and then like when I looked up, it kind of like it didn't disappear in a flash. It kind of like pixelated away, I guess is the best way I could
Yeah.
And my mom said she saw something like crawling one time. And the same kind of thing happened. It like pixelated away.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's really weird. Like you kind of want to be like, oh my God, did I make that up? But you're so sure, kind of going back to what you said, Corey, you're so sure, in your gut and your bones and stuff that like, no, that was legit.
Yeah, the movies always get it wrong. It's so subtle. Everybody I know, like you were just saying, all these experiences, it's so subtle, so subtle, but And so movies that gotta exaggerate it to be like, no, we knew, but they kind of always get it wrong, right? Because it's so subtle that you do question yourself, but then you're like, nope, no, I know, I saw that, I know what I saw, I know what I heard, and definitely know what I felt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yesterday it was funny. I thank God this wasn't an experience, but I didn't realize that the tour guides don't go in the room with you. Like they'll intro the room, and then once they hit the video, they walk out. So we're in the hallway, and there's like another guy down the hall, and I'm like, "Did you guys just see that?" And they're like, "Oh no, it's a tour guide." I'm like, "Okay, it's just testing you."
Oh, you would have a blast on the Queen Mary.
Oh my God, I know. I
It's
wish
so
they still
cool.
did it.
It's open again. It's opening
Okay.
again. So yeah, I don't know if they're still doing the Dark Harbor, like the mazes out front. That was fun, but I always liked the ship itself anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying earlier, there's all kinds of spots in there. And it was a total accident that we got these rooms. But me and my brother, David, went to stay, and I think we got the Queen Mary room, and then he got the Eisenhower room.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Was it Eisenhower? No. Anyways, they were the two suites, right? And they're reserved generally for, I guess, really famous people. So it was a total accident that we got there. And we were so stoked about it. It was so cool to be there. And then we left our doors open and, we had a few beers and stuff. And once the tours had come by, usually the tour stands outside these rooms and tells you stories. But when they came by, we're standing here with the door open. We're like, nope, we're staying in here. You guys want to walk through? Like we're letting the tours go through because like the bathtub that's in there, you have Churchill sat in that bathtub when he was signing the papers that were drawn up for the D-Day invasion.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that's like both positive and negative energies, like you were talking about, that can be a part of a situation, just such a big piece of history. And undoubtedly all kinds of other things occurred for the war. That's a pretty pivotal moment to happen in a spot that, you know, I can't even tell you how difficult it was for me to sleep that night in
Yeah.
that room. You know, my wife was out, she didn't care, but for me, I was like, no, it was freaking me out all night of just looking at all the history. And it could be intense, but it could be a lot of fun too. It could be a nice connection, like we've been saying, running theme here, as long as we're safe about it, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. I gotta hang out with
Yeah.
your family. You sound like you guys are always having a good time between you and David. Like, I'm like, dang, you guys
We
have
always
so
said
much
we
fun.
can have a good time going to the grocery store. So we're always looking for moments, making everything a moment.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful place to end off on. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Corey. I had a lot of fun today. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for the questions. Those are great.
So are you guys.
Oh, anytime. And you at home, we will be back next week with another episode of the FNL Network Talk Show. So stick around then. Bye.